I could talk about Toronto sandwiches a little bit.
You guys sandwich
Why
crawl.
Toronto
I'm
sandwiches?
good.
Because that's where I live. I don't know. Do you want to be like, here's a hot spot to get a sandwich, or do you just want to
In
talk about
Minnesota.
I don't
like
wanna-
generic ideas of sandwiches?
I don't want anything to do with geography or hotspots. I just want sandwiches.
Between Wednesdays, just trying to get by to the next fix. Living between Wednesdays, prefer the comics over the Netflix. Living between Wednesdays.
But like I said, this isn't. We're gonna talk about sandwiches next week. This week, let's get back to comics.
Yeah, let's get back to pastrami. I mean comics.
Oh,
The pastrami.
I think there was a comic that had eating of sandwiches in it at some point. But
Which one?
Chew?
Oh yeah.
It was a sandwich. They ate things.
No,
I think it was a burger.
mostly salad.
He usually eats beet salads because that's all he can eat because he can't get the backstory to beets.
They did tell me that in this, which
Kind of, but probably not enough if you haven't read Chew.
yeah. Should we start off talking about Chew?
I guess so. We all read it.
So number one, I
So-
did not read it.
Chew
What?
number 1.
I read Chew. I didn't read Chew with a U.
Yeah.
So this is a sequel series, I guess, to Chew, CHEW.
Yes.
And this,
Starring his sister?
so he's a cybopath police officer, and she's a cyboparse criminal. And they tell you what a cybopath is in this book, but they don't tell you what a cyboparse is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
like, I am that confused.
Yeah.
What is different?
Yeah. And I, having read the Chew series, am completely comfortable and familiar with the fact that it's all about people who have powers that have to do with food or food adjacent, whether it be writing about food, preparing food, eating food. Like, they get something from
Yeah, 'cause
interacting with food.
I was confused because, like I said, I haven't read the original, but what I've been told of the original is a guy, he's the main character, he works with the police, he eats something, he can tell you what happened to them or where it's from if it's an apple versus like a finger.
Yeah.
So when this started off with a bunch of people like eating a cake shaped like a building, and they're like really get to know all the entrances and exits while they're I was immediately like,
Are they gonna
What?
rob that place and they ate a?
yeah,
Okay.
a guy
Yeah.
bakes a
They
cake
ate a
replica,
blueprint, yeah.
and then they eat it while they're eating it. He's like, yeah, I really get to know it, get to know the ins and outs and the air ducts and the escapes and stuff. And is there that stuff like that in the original?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you,
Okay, there's like a plethora of food powers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why I was like, I don't really know what her deal is, but like this is just part of the universe.
Yeah.
But they don't intro any of that, so this is not a good issue 1 because you cannot enter the Chew universe through this at all.
I didn't read it, so I can't really. But like Chew gets kind of so.
Yeah, but it's a long-running series,
Yeah.
so you don't expect that from it. Like our test of a number 1 is different.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're going to tell me this is Chew, a new series number 1,
Mm-hmm.
right? Then I am supposed to assume that someone could jump in being like, I heard of Chew, I'm kind of interested, but I haven't read anything yet. Can I enter on this issue 1? And the answer is not really.
Well, I wasn't lost. Like while I was like, okay, they're eating a cake and learning the layout of the building. Well, that was weird. I understood kind of, they threw it at me early, so I'm like, okay, this is the rule set we're working within. They're talking about eat this salad for speed and eat this pork chop for strength. I'm like, okay, that's like basic video game mechanics. I can
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
that. And but then like it introduces you to Chew from the other series, which I'm sure if you're a fan of Chew, you're like, oh yeah, he was my main man from the other series. But I'm like, okay, here's a guy.
Yeah.
It's really, this writing is making me think I'm supposed to be invested in this guy, but he's not to do with the story yet. So
Does Ponyo show up?
No.
Okay,
no,
good.
No Poyo.
Son of a gun.
what are some other fun and exciting comics we got this week?
I read Bliss number 1.
I did too.
What'd you think?
I also
liked it.
did.
So did I. I don't know what's
did
happening.
Like it.
And so, you know what's funny is I read the first half of this thinking I'd picked up Chew. I
Yeah.
just like didn't look at the
Oh,
cover.
yeah.
So I read half, I was like, okay, is this, and then I picked up, I was like, oh no, this isn't Chew. This is an actual issue 1. And then I reread it, this first half, because
Yeah.
I was like, assuming there were things I didn't know because I hadn't read it. But I was like, no, this isn't Chew. This is a different book.
It read more like a issue 0. Like I didn't really, like I don't know what the book's really about until issue 2. I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's
So-
Give me the elevator pitch.
There's a son on trial for what his father did, and his father apparently did something to like mass genocide to like a biblical level. And apparently the son was sick at some point in the past. It doesn't even like it. And this world is not. This is like some kind of like neo-noir, Louisiana-esque fantasy world, kind of maybe. I don't know. This isn't a city in North America that I'm aware of.
No.
And then
Well, Bliss doesn't do a good job of world building. So like you're never given like a pan shot. You're never given like an establishing thing. The parents come. It's a son recreating his dad's life because there's some sort of a trial going on.
yes.
So his dad came from like a farming town, I guess, and was forced to move to the city in order to survive before the son was born. And then when he was really little, he was sick, and his dad had to do some despicable things for money. So we're going to find out what those things were.
Yeah, by like 3 anthropomorphic frog creature people. I don't know if they're magical or yet. That's why I'm like, I need to know more of what this is before I can really critique it. I don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
Art's cool though. I really like that. The color palette's really neat. I think that's nice.
Yeah. I stand by my statement that I don't think when you see other sides of the character in the interior of the
Yeah.
book, the likeness isn't there. But on the cover, like that's Lin-Manuel Miranda.
That is very limited.
I said it when I saw it in previews, and that is it's him.
Yeah. It was cool. Sean Lewis, I'll see what else you got going on.
Yeah, I felt like it didn't establish sort of like the world that we're in. It didn't really establish the wealth disparity that they're trying to establish when he's talking to like the 3 frogs who are
Yeah.
chilling. Because they talk about that, like how people need to be absolved and people are struggling, and he goes to like the seedy part of town to get a job, but like we don't spend enough time with anybody. So we
Yeah.
don't understand that there's a hospital bill that's too big, I guess, because
He's genuinely
because America,
sick.
Yeah.
we're supposed to know what this is and like what this would be like societally. But we're not given anything other than that for context.
And you could pay for your hospital bills with a briefcase of money.
You know what? Deadeyes does that too. So like we have other comics that are doing this that do a better job of like setting up exactly where they are and how the world works.
Yeah.
So like, is it normal for him to see a bunch of weird frog creatures who are creating drugs?
Unclear.
Yeah, well, just
He doesn't seem that bothered.
just seeing the well, yeah, I think it is normal because the court in this is like a huge monolith with like it would remind me a lot of.
What's that big room?
Oh.
It reminded me a lot of. It's not what you're thinking because what
No?
I'm saying is the Conehead's home
shit.
planet where he has to fight the grab boar.
I've never seen it.
Oh God, what? Dan Aykroyd, oh, it's so good.
I know
I was
what it is.
thinking
I
about
just
that
haven't seen it.
Star Trek episode where there's like the guy in the wig who's like talking about how all of humanity is gonna do. Such
Oh, the
and
very
such thing.
first episode?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
It
that's
reminded
good.
me of that.
Yeah, so like off the bat, you're like, all right, this isn't modern day society. I'm not sure what this is. It's a magical realism something, but I still don't have enough information to like encapsulate what it is we're working in.
The most intriguing part of Bliss for me was was establishing what the drug that the frogs are trying to peddle does. And Bliss takes away all of your bad memories.
And makes them leak out of your eyes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a really cool idea, but that's not what this book is about. And
Or
that,
is it?
I mean, obviously he's gonna peddle it, but like, and there's gonna be like negative effects
Yeah.
to doing so because no one's going to remember doing all the awful shit they did. But I just kind of want to spend more time leading up to finding that out.
Bum, bum, bum.
So instead, I'm supposed to be invested in this kid who's recounting his father's life, his father whom I don't know anything about except for what he's saying.
He got him oranges, damn it.
Yeah, see, this is not enough for me to attach to anyone. So
All
it's
3
just
issue rule it.
swirling chaos. I'm gonna keep reading it because I read everything for a very long time, but like I don't like it.
He got him oranges, damn it.
With safe sex, it is 7 issues for the low price of $9.99 US.
Really?
Dude,
That's $9.99. That's damn. Image.
damn.
Safe sex? Don't you mean?
I mean, yes, there is some blacked out parts.
Good on the Image for you.
I know those volume 1s on Image, they get you.
Then they crank up.
in.
I think Die
Yeah.
was the same. It's still not bad. I think issue 1 of Die was
$16.99.
10, and then $16.99.
Which is still not bad for like 6 or 7 single issues, which would have been like $4.99 a piece. So you're still walking out on top. This specifically is a revolution story about a world not too far away from ours. Is kind of how it's pitched, where sexual conduct is policed heavily. And it's about a bunch of former sex workers who are trying to keep that trade alive.
Woo! You really like this. You were really
I
excited.
love this.
Yeah,
I
It's
was-
really, really good. It's super political. It talks about all sorts of issues to do with stigmatizing sex work. It deals with kink shaming. It has some really, really playful and really, really surprisingly romantic relationships with people, whether they be romantically involved, whether they be coworkers in this sort of trade. I think it exemplifies sort of the different ways that these types of issues can be taken very, very well under the backdrop of them having to like break into this facility and free their fellow coworkers who have been imprisoned. It's great. It's a crime drama. It's a romance. It's a sexy romp.
Sexy romp.
It's a dystopian future. I really, really loved this. The art is great. There's a lot of like atmospheric color work going on.
Yeah.
Lots of boy parts and girl parts.
Yeah, just
Parts
all
for
of
everyone.
it. Just a little bit of everything. And there's some guest artwork in there as well that I really enjoyed. So if you like sexy comics and if you like dystopian futures and if you like to try something new, there's nothing quite like safe sex.
There's lots of
On
trying
the
new
market
stuff
right
in
now.
this book. That's for sure. What if kink shaming is my kink?
That no.
They have
that,
to consent.
yeah, I think it's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all like safe word and like
Yeah,
the subs and doms and all that jazz, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that yeah. That's
They
probably,
have
that's
to
probably
go-
old hat actually.
But yeah, so safe sex, really, really good. Been enjoying it for a while. You can now get your hands on it for the low price of $9.99 US.
Wow.
Wow!
Jay, you read this big old pretty looking hardcover. Do you have
Giant.
I read
Aptly named.
I read a big old hardcover called Giant by a guy named Mikael. It is 1932 New York. They're working in the Rockefeller building, and it's about skywalkers or sky cats or sky boys. And they're people who, run the hot iron rivets and build those buildings for you.
like the classic photo of the guys eating lunch on the I-beam?
Yeah, and they actually have a bunch of, things where they stop and take photographs of that because, and like journalists come over and they interview them and stuff and say how hard it is, and it just sucks because it's also during the Depression. It's post World War One, pre World War Two, but World War Two is like around the corner, and a lot of these guys actually have like a tiny bit shell shock from World War One still, so. But they're not afraid of heights. They get drunk all the time. They get paid way underprivileged. They sleep in shacks in Central Park. It's a cool world.
A lot of them are immigrants, aren't they?
They're all mostly Irish immigrants. They're
Yeah.
mostly Irish immigrants in this. And it goes through like what you do when you're an immigrant. You save your money and then you mail it back to your family so they can eventually afford the ticket to come to America and go through Ellis Island and all this jazz. It's a very
Is it a frank depiction?
simple story. Yeah, that's the thing too. Because if you're getting this hoping for like a Scorsese bloodbath, it's not that. a very on the ground level, earnest drama about a group of people who are working on building in the Rockefeller Center. And there's a little bit of crime involved, but nothing too crazy. I wouldn't. It's probably outside the average amount of stuff. Because it's 1932 Manhattan. There's mafias running around all over the place. But it's just a very frank, general, earnest story. It's very heartfelt. It's very good. It kind of fizzles out in the story because pretty much the entire story is a build up to one big twist. And I know saying there's a twist does ruin the twist, but once that's revealed, it's just kind of like, and it ends. But everything other than that, it's good. It's really, really good. I would recommend it. It's also really gorgeous. It's definitely a love letter to the industrial age in New York.
Yeah, hey, pal. You got that one where Superman goes to Supertown? Yeah, I got that when it come out. I like the fourth world.